Their egos, their egos get bruised. Their egos get bruised, and then it's like, you told me no. Some men don't like to hear that, especially you told me no, especially, like he was mentioning the lady who was getting thing by her husband. He probably thought like, listen, I married you, you belong to me, and there is no such thing as no in this relationship, but you have a right to have a headache. You have a right to not just feel like it tonight. Like you have all those rights, But I think for men, it's an ego thing. Wise, I might be wrong, but you tell me. But I think it becomes this ego tripping thing where it's like, you're not going to tell me no.
But I always told you, men have the worst egos. Men are more fragile than most women, and that's part of the problem because, and it's society's fault because when you're a young man and you're growing up, they're raising young men with that macho image, and you have to be the manly man. So now, when somebody's telling you, no, not right now, some people take that personal. And I'm not gonna lie, like nobody likes to hear no. No one. I don't think if you went to your man right now and was like, yo, come on. And he was like, no, not right now. I gotta, you're gonna look at him like he's insane.
You gonna ask him what's wrong.
Right. Now, nothing may not be wrong. That man might have had just a hard day and he was tired right now, but nobody wants to hear no. No one wants to be rejected. Everybody wants to be wanted. But sometimes it's not about rejection. It's just about, I'm tired. I have something going on. It could be a plethora of things. So we don't know. And it's about finding out what's that situation. But like I said, if it's continuous, there's a problem. It is a little deeper than, oh, I'm tired or I got a headache or anything like that. Like
you said, one night is not the end of the world. But like you said, if it's, well, for me, I'll say, if it's a week and better, we're not on the same page and it's a constant rejection, then you got to find out what's going on in your relationship. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, 3 months, that's something wrong in the relationship. One day is nothing wrong.
Right.
It's just, I don't want to do it tonight. Like, I want to sleep. I'm tired. I want to give my body a rest.
It's one of those things. And like yesterday I had like the worst day at work. My computer died in the middle of a life plan, which is like an ISP meeting for grown-ups. And my computer was just dead, frozen like a fucking rock. And I pretty much had to wing it and make shit up, hang up. And by the time 10 o'clock came, my partner was like, hi, how you doing? I was like, I just took a melatonin and it's starting to kick in. And,
he said a melatonin.
Yeah. And basically he was like, oh yeah, tomorrow's the podcast. You're going to be all wound up and just a little drunk. I can wait.
Right. Good night. But you see,
let the melatonin do its magic.
K. Wills, the barber, said 3 months is a breakup.
We don't know
the barber
I don't even know your phone number anymore.
3 months is a problem. I'm not gonna lie. 3 months, you got an excuse, especially if we live together or something like that. That's a problem. That is a problem.
I'm on my third set of batteries for my vibrator. I no longer know your phone number. And I probably had dinner with 2 or 3 of your friends who thought I was a damn fine woman.
That's true.
That's hilarious. But
I'll drink to that.
What you were saying. So, Sean, back to you, what you had brought up, which is a valid point in regards to men having an ego.
Oh, yeah.
And so we as women, I feel that the initial conversation or communication should be nonverbal. It should be a nonverbal. We're communicating that consent is required, followed by a verbal requirement that consent is required, because again, we're dealing with the ego. If it, again, if it is a male partner, and so I am referring to if it is a male partner. So first, you should definitely have a nonverbal way of communicating that consent is required, followed by a verbal. You guys agree, disagree?
No, I think so important. I think nonverbal is so important because it's body language. And I think that's the frustrating thing, because one person could be communicating it like, I'm not, and then the other person might just be seeing what they want to see. And I think that just comes back down to education and teaching both, everyone when they're like 5 or 6, what nonverbal communication looks like. And, even consent in schools at a young age. But definitely, I mean, nonverbal is where it should start, because you can tell when someone's not into it, but it's your choice to see it or not.
Absolutely, because at the age of 9, I already had instilled into my daughter. I mentioned to her, when you enter a room, you should already have your guard up, stating your body language should already basically indicate, please do not approach me in that manner, or whatever manner you're thinking of. It should already be approached with a nonverbal way of communicating. So that would be my advice for every woman, just to have that nonverbal way of communicating. Otherwise, they'll read it all wrong.
But even with that,
thing. Hang on. Sorry, Wise, you go.
The nonverbal and the verbal, I understand that. But even like me and some of my partners were talking about this a little earlier. And like nowadays, it's a thin line between flirting and sexual harassment and things of that nature. Like at one time, if Barbara was walking down the block and I was like, "Ooh, she look nice," whatever, it would just, somebody would be, "Oh, okay." Now some people would, "Oh, he's harassing us." Like it's a very thin line. So everyone has to be very careful about how they go about things nowadays.
I agree, because like so many people, like I think, and I used to work for the police department, and that was a big sex pool. Like conversation like that happened every day. Like it was normal, you know what I'm saying? But you have to, if I feel like if you don't like the conversation, then exclude yourself. Don't keep yourself in the conversation and subject yourself to something you don't like. You know what I'm saying? And that goes with communication. That goes with everything we're talking about in a relationship, at workplace, whatever. If you don't like something, communicate it and remove yourself from the situation. Like
that's where exactly. That's where you would implement nonverbal and verbal, because if I'm excluding myself, then that's my nonverbal cue.
Right.
In addition to a verbal cue of saying, I'm just gonna leave, guys. This
ain't for me.
It's not for me. Yeah.
I think we're grown-ups. Just say it. Just say it. Look, this ain't for me. I can't do it. And walk away.
But part of the reason that it's so concrete now, so hard and fast, like I started being a secretary when it was still called a secretary in like 1981. And this was the thing. Don't even tell me your age. Don't blink at me. I don't want to know. Anyway, so like then pretty much for a long time, like for my entire 20s, I was fair game. I was really fair game. And because of that entire generation, all the generations that preceded it, believing that any young woman who was out in public domain, and even a lot of young guys, because I talked to men who had jobs where like what Dave used to do in the 80s and 90s until he did what he does now. He was like a hot young guy that would show up and do things that required a craftsman, because he made like fucking fortune. Like he would do craftsmanship in the homes of people with like a lot of money and privilege. And it wasn't just like, I was definitely meat who could type. And that was the whole point, because back then you were meat who could type. You had no oversight, you had no rights, you had no ability to make your boundaries clear, because they didn't care. There was no like explanation that like, no, I don't like this. Basically, like the unspoken rule was like, as long as no one touched you without your consent, whatever they said was okay. And that's not the case anymore. And
That's
it's
still not right.
then.
No, that's not the case anymore. But the case is now, I think some men are scared to say anything.
Well, then don't.
I don't say
Agreed.
anything.
No, if you're afraid to say it, don't say it.
No, I don't even say hello. I'm serious. I'm like,
We spoke about you icebox.
I love it. I
but
love it.
it's not
You
even
don't
about
even
the
say
icebox. It's
so
about
you
the
don't even
point.
say hello.
No,
Believe
No,
him.
But if
no,
you
and you know
don't-
what? And to
No,
be honest,
I'm not saying it to be like bitchy. I'm just saying it to be like, if you aren't certain that saying hello to that woman is good, is going to have a good outcome, or if you're not certain if she's receptive to your hello, keep it pushing. You,
oh, that's
you
exactly
don't
what
need
I do.
you don't need her. I
That's
mean,
exactly.
this
But
black.
see, my point with that is, in society, I think it's kind of sad that we came to that point where I know at one point it was so far like guys were just being complete idiots, and I understand that. But now we're so far to the point where you shouldn't be like shy or scared or embarrassed to say good morning or how are you or anything. Like, I ain't gonna say anything, but just hello to someone. Just because you say hello, that doesn't mean you're trying to sleep with someone. So it's come to that point where we're going to be a bunch of non-communicating, non-verbal people, and that's kind of sad to me.
But you know what? I really think that some women, and when we was talking about trauma, Barbara had mentioned we would talk about trauma and stuff like that. Some women who've been through so much trauma with men, don't receive men well. And although you might think like, oh, okay, I just said hi, like what the heck? And she like, don't speak to me. That's a boundary. Like all of that's coming from trauma. All that's coming from, her boundaries being, violated. And, that's something she definitely got to heal from. But
Yes.
that's definitely, agreed. That's something she
Yes.
definitely needs to heal from. But when you come across somebody like that, then you just kind of fall back, because then that's when all the other stuff come in with the, he's sexually harassing me. He always trying to talk to me. He da 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 da. When, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That's where that come in. So when you see somebody like that, then it is best to kind of take a step back and, let that person be.
I
And
moonwalked out of that situation.
as someone who is a case manager that's been sexually traumatized, I'm very, very. The reason I left my last job is because I have been, make no bones about it, I'm like a nationally recognized speaker on the subject and really proud of that fact. But my last job, when I worked in one location, I was working with the mentally ill who lived in apartments. I had one person that was like constantly, oh, you need to come back after work and have dinner with me and this, that. And as a case manager in that particular setting, I was alone with them in their apartments for hours on end. And then when I moved to a different office to be closer to home, I had like a registered sex offender on my caseload. And he had violently assaulted a number of people, but did his time in prison and was released. And now he lived in supportive housing for the mentally ill, which he was more than qualified and deserved. I do not dispute that. But I was not the one to be his case manager.
Right.
I was not the one to have to hang out with this dude in his spot. Like, that was my job, had to respect my boundaries. Like, I probably could have sued them. I probably could have made a stink about it or whatever. But I just worked a little harder. I just found another job and off I went. But everyone would ask me, oh, are you going to that guy's apartment today? Yeah. Oh, good luck. Well, if you know good luck, if you know I need not just my qualifications, but like a stroke of fucking luck, why are you not? That's because you know that my boundaries may or may not be respected. I might get there. This guy might be off his meds and beat me to a bloody pulp. But he might be on his meds, and the only thing that'll be wrong in his apartment is that the windows will be covered with saran wrap, and he'll be watching Trump on the TV. And, and but we have to learn as a society that people's boundaries and the level of consent, especially in intimate relationships, which is like our whole deal, has how to make your intimate relationships strong and valuable to you, because nobody else cares about the intimacy level of your relationship. You might think that they do, but they don't. But your boundaries, that's a whole nother matter. Like, they have to be respected by everybody.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Are you finished? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I have a question, and I'm going to address it to Nicole, since she is the expert in regards to assault. What would be considered the pink flag for an assault, or before an assault happens, for a victim or one that will be a victim? What would be that indicator or that micro aggression, just to give them the alert, like, maybe I should be on the alert? What would you state?
I think that's a good question.
What would you state for the viewers out there? What's that pink flag?
Well, I mean, just to acknowledge, everyone's an expert. My credentials don't mean anything more than anyone's lived experience. So I do want to acknowledge that. Everyone in this room knows just as much
humble. So humble.
But more in a clinical, I guess, more on a clinical basis.
In a clinical way. I mean, when I think about the pink flags of assault, like, I just think about, it comes down to these conversations and how they're received. So, setting a boundary, even a boundary of like, oh, I don't know, like, little things. I'm not going to answer you right away, or like, I'm going to go to bed, and then, having your partner not respect that boundary, calling you all night long, or like, hey, I'm gonna be with friends for the night, and then they kind of, I guess, have you guys heard of the term love bombing?
Yeah.
Yes.
I haven't.
It's you meet a partner and they just, or someone, and they just throw everything at you, and they try to grab you in through, you're so beautiful, you're so perfect. They love bomb you, and then you get hooked, and then they end up withholding it. So love bombing is something to always be mindful of, which is scary. I love to get love bombed. I've been love bombed. It's hard. I'm like, I love attention, but that's something to be mindful of. Is this, where is this coming from? But for me, the pink flags, it's around little communication. Hey, I'm gonna go hang out with my friends tonight. What does that look like? Are you controlling me? Are you calling me nonstop? Or if we're kissing and I decide to stop it, is there like usually most
Attitude.
people, yeah, an attitude. Most people aren't going to be pissed off in the right then and there.
Right.
The beauty, they're going to play it cool, but there's an attitude you can pick up on. So it's more like the micro aggressions that you can kind of notice. The lack of respect for like little boundaries that you don't think are like really, really big, but I think that's a pattern. If they don't respect the small things, how are they going to respect?
Absolutely. I think those are definitely pink flags because, as you stated, I think the victims of an abusive relationship, whether it's emotional abuse, physical abuse, or verbal abuse, it always starts with, for instance, that was a great example. Oh, well, I'm gonna go hang out with my friends. Like what does that look like? What do you mean? This should not even be a discussion. If I'm going to hang out with my friends, I don't think I have to give you a detailed report of what am I going to do.
Yes. And I think it's something you notice inside, it's a fear. Oh, I don't want to piss I don't want to, and not a big fear. So I don't want to make this person upset. That's, I think, the pink flag that's inside of you. Like I've had that before where I don't want to, what if I say no? What if I upset them in regards to like sex, in regards to hanging out, whatever. It's that little bit of like, I don't want to, what if they leave me if I set a boundary? Those like the fear inside of you, I think, is a real pink flag to pay attention for.
So would you also state like your first sign of anxiety, if whether you're with the person or not with the person at the time, can you fairly state that feeling anxious would be a pink flag?
It's one to be mindful of, because some anxiety comes from your own history of rejection and abandonment, and am I projecting my fears onto this partner?
Right.
That's something to be mindful of. It could be a great a conversation. I'm feeling really anxious right now, to share with your partner or to share with whoever you're spending your time with.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is, anxiety is very natural for people who've had a history of abuse or any kind of abandonment or just anxious attachment styles. It's, but if you're feeling that anxiety, be mindful. Where is it coming from? Is it my own fears, or is there really a pink flag in this room that I'm kind of overlooking? Because a lot of people overlook stuff, or they ignore it.
Yeah, I think, and we talked about this in one of the episodes, that I feel like sometimes in relationships, because some people just want to be in a relationship and they want it to work so bad, they will ignore things that are not even pink flags, they're blaring red flags. And that
no, I'm thinking of some people right now. I'm like, get out of it.
Yeah. I know, and I guess this is why I just love the fact with the discussion, or even the topic, or even just the whole name of pink flag. I think it's so needed, especially amongst us women. And I say women because this is who I am. This is my gender, so I'm a specialist in my own gender, and and I hear it too often, and it's truly my passion to share it with my sisters, to say, be mindful, as you stated, Nicole, be mindful of that blaring hot pink when it's coming at you, because it's getting ready to turn hot.
Yes.
I just want the audience today to really take a moment and step back and assess that feeling. Take a notation of your emotion at that point. Your first date, second date, third date, hell, your second marriage, your first marriage, anything, take a notation.
There's a big difference between somebody who gives you butterflies in your heart or butterflies in your stomach.
I love that.
That's good. I'm gonna drink to that. I'm gonna drink to that.
I'm gonna drink to that too.
And we're drinking.
Oh yeah, I've been drinking, so join me.
I think is really helpful for people in relationships or partnerships or whatever, is knowing what your needs are. So some people need intimacy all the time. Some people need space. Some people need alone time. They need to be held. Like, what are your needs for yourself, just in whatever relationship you enter? But what are your needs? I like physical touch, for example. And I also love space. I love friendships. Those are my needs. And can they be met by whoever you're sharing them with? Because if your partner isn't down to give you those needs or meet those needs, or they shame you for those needs, then those are some pink flags. But so I think that knowing your needs is where it all starts. Like,
Nicole, you hit it on the nail, because most people, unfortunately, it's not until they're in a space that they're dissatisfied that they started to realize, you know what? I never really sat down to assess what are my needs. So I think that is a valuable point. Most men and women, both, they share the issue of not knowing what their needs are. I hear from men all the time. I really don't know. I don't know if she's the one. I mean, come on, you've been a person with 10 years. Really? I mean, you don't know?
Yeah.
You never stop to listen and just take a moment and note it, make a notation. Oh, you know what? I think I like a fat booty. I don't know. I think I like breasts. I don't know. Make a notation. Just go anywhere.
I did that just before, like a month before I met Dave. I was on a train with my friend Jackie. We were coming back from a graduate school residency in Albany. And Jackie was like, so what the fuck do you want? And I was like, I don't know. She goes, write it down right now. And she goes, and go home and put it in your Bible. And I was like, I didn't even know I had a Bible, but I found one and I put it in there. So I write down the 10 things, and it was random. It was nothing about how he looked. And I eventually showed Dave this list, but it was 10 things. And the universe,
look at God,
marked that to my door. Well, actually, to the bungalow bar. And then subsequently my door.
Let's go to the bungalow bar.
To the bungalow.
and Sean and I have been there, to the bungalow bar.
Where is it? Where is it?
It's in Far Rockaway. In Rockaway Park. Anyway, but I was like, it wasn't anything about how he looked. It was kind, generous, funny, gets my sense of humor, likes tits, ass and my access to it, intelligent, there was others, like financially solvent. The other things were basically administrative, like financially solvent, won't be mean to my kids, and he didn't look like, Dave is a handsome guy, don't get me wrong. He's actually anybody's idea as far as like a guy that's 57 years old. He is like a heartbreaker, but he wasn't physically what I had been imagining him to look like at the time. But I was like, I knew. The third date lasted like 2.5 days. Like, ridiculous. Yeah, Sean's
that's a long date. Yeah. That's a long date.
2.5 days, 7 meals. no changes of clothes. And it's just like I knew, and any flags that were there, I knew that they would go away. They didn't go away right away. It took 5 years for all the flags to go away. But you have to ask the universe to supply. It's a supply and demand thing. You have to ask the universe to give you what it is you need. And if it's not, and that's the whole thing about pink flags, because if you see that little that flag is growing, either figure out how to fix it or walk away. That's your turning point. That's, and if you have unresolved trauma and you are the person putting out the pink flags, then you have to go get it fixed.
That's important. Go ahead, Nicole.
Well, I was actually going to ask all of you about this because, I think a hard thing with people with trauma and a history of abuse is trusting your intuition. Trusting when let's say we see all these pink flags, but kind of going back to what we talked about a while ago, is like, am I making this up? Is it me? Is it me? Am I projecting, or is it really a pink flag? So, I mean, how do you all? What's your advice or suggestions on learning to trust your intuition again and trust?
Can I jump on this one?
Go for it.
I really think with what you said, to me, the most important thing is for people to heal themselves before they try to get into anything, because a lot of situations occur when a person's not healed themselves, and now they're trying to deal with someone, and they're bringing everything in the past into their present, and you have no chance of succeeding. So I feel the best thing to do, even if you have to wait a year, whatever you have to do to get yourself right, you have to do it. And throughout life, I have run into that many times where I've been talking to someone and they're like, oh, you're just like, you're going to be like all those other guys and just go bang a bunch of girls. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? I'm here with you every day. Or I was in a situation where I had to get surgery, and the young lady I was seeing at that moment goes, well, I know you're out there banging. I said, I can't even walk. What are you talking about banging people? But I wasn't even upset at her. I just knew I had to step away because she wasn't healed, and whatever she went through just messed her up for that next situation. So the most important thing I could tell anybody is, if you have to see somebody, if just get yourself healed and go through what you have to go through to get yourself right, because you're never going to be able to go to that next level with anyone if you're still traumatized and if you're still going through things.
Right. I agree with that. I definitely agree with that because, I don't know. With today, I think also in society, seeing a therapist is so, like, still in 2021, seeing a therapist is so taboo. And it's like, oh, nothing's wrong with you. Me and Barbara was talking about this earlier. Some of it is cultural, where it's like, no, we don't see therapists. We are right. You're going to be all right. No, see somebody. It's okay, because of the simple fact is, like you said, it's like, going into relationships, trying to, some people think relationships will heal them as well. Right. Some people get into relationships to heal from the last relationship. You know what I'm saying? And
you can't get over a man while you're under a man. Or you can't get over a man till you're under another. Or whatever that old saying goes.
Come on, guys, join me.
Well, I don't want to be under no man, so I'll drink to that too.
But do you want to be the under or the over?
What happened?
You want to be the under or the over?
We could work on both sides, but it has to be with a young lady. So
exactly,
I could be under or over. It's all good. You don't always have to be the dominant one. Sometimes it's all right to lay back and enjoy the ride.
Well, you know what? You know what's so frustrating to me with all, and I think this could be a whole other topic in this podcast is accessibility to mental health services. It's so difficult. Like I work, because I was in the nonprofit world, and like the type of work that I was so lucky to be with families. I love the work that I did, and I did a lot of family therapy work. Half these clients didn't even want to be there at first, and then we were able to break through things. But like a lot of the nonprofit work, it's just so they're over. All the therapists are like overpacked. They can't do trauma work. Isn't evidence-based. It's not like a 6-month approach, and that's all that a lot of nonprofits are funded for. Trauma work takes gosh, at least a year
Years.
to trust.
Sometimes years.
Half the work is just trusting your therapist or trusting your peer-to-peer counselor, whatever approach you go. So it's like a lot of these people who need to heal, it's hard. Where do they go? It's just hard. Accessibility is really frustrating. As I've entered the private practice, it's frustrating to see firsthand how hard it is to serve people. I've experienced.
It's also like Sean said, like culturally, I know I speak to a lot of minorities that's like, I'm not going to see no, I'm not crazy. And I'm like, that doesn't mean you're crazy because you're speaking to someone.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just venting. Just look at it like that. You're getting something off your chest and you're giving someone else the opportunity to help you find yourself. So we have to get rid of that stigma that just because you talk to a therapist, you're insane.
Right.
You need to peel the layers of the onion and get to your core. And as you guys stated before, I think the misconception of I need to find someone to find myself, that's the road to disaster. Mm-hmm. Because if you're lost, how are you going to take somebody else's hand and you're just going to get lost together. So don't do it. That's all I can say. Just don't do it.
Yeah, that's true. And like I was saying, as far as speaking to the, doing, like Barbara was saying, the things that she wanted for herself and knowing what you want for yourself, I think is very important. And, I believe I told y'all this, me and Kevin in the pandemic, we did the love language test. Oh. Right before we got married, we did the love language test. And because I think those things are important as well, because of the simple fact we also went to premarital therapy, and people, I think, jump into certain things and don't go into, I think premarital therapy is like, it was amazing because we got to learn so much about each other. And it was just like, some of it was like insane. Like, as far as, when he was sick, there's things I didn't know that he was going through and that I learned in therapy. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like, you know what I'm saying? Like, wow, and I think it's important because, some people carry stuff and you have no idea that they carrying it, and they expect you to know they carrying it. And it's like, how am I supposed to know if they don't say anything, And it took us going, premarital therapy for him to say certain things that he went through and he felt while he was sick, you know what I'm saying, in therapy. And I think that healed a certain part of him, and it healed a certain part of our relationship for us to be able to move forward for a better future. So I think it's really important to heal yourself, what you together work in your relationship to make sure the relationship is good.
That was really huge. I was really proud of you when you guys went to premarital therapy. I was like, that's so few people. I remember having a friend that definitely needed therapy before she married the guy that she married to and subsequently divorced. You could do that. She's like, oh, well, if I need to go to counseling, then I don't need to be getting married. Well, yeah, then you don't need to be getting married. Because this is just a shit show ain't happen.
Like, no, seriously, because I think so many people just want to be married that they forget the important parts before the marriage. Like, we took every step before the marriage that was important for a successful marriage. We took all of those steps because, one, we got married late in life, and two, is like, we want this to work. So let's take the important steps. Like, it's not about the wedding, it's about the forever. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't think about that.
So many people.
Well, a lot of people think marriage is permanency. And they think, oh, we're only married, this is forever. Like the fear of abandonment will disappear. The fear of loss will go away. My insecurity will disappear once we're married. Because marriage is obviously things are changing in our world, but like that's kind of, I think a lot of people think it's a permanency thing, and a lot of people end up rushing to have kids because it's permanence. They're not gonna leave me. I'm not gonna feel that void that we've been talking about. People seek others to fill their voids when really they need to be taking care of those voids themselves. So yeah, the premarital counseling is like such a good idea. The steps before jumping into something just to seek permanency is so important.
It really is. It really, really is.
And I just want to also add, even during the time that you are married, you still need, because you evolve. You evolve into, you're two individuals. You're always growing mentally, physically. You're changing. So you're always evolving. So even at that period, you if you need to seek help, you should definitely implement it, because don't feel that, oh, now we're married, we're in a safe space. Actually, that's when it's even dangerous, because now you're assuming each partner is happy, and you shouldn't make that assumption. You shouldn't make that assumption. You know what happens too.
That's with every aspect of a long-term relationship. You don't only change as a person. Like, what you want, say you get married when you're 25, which hardly anybody does anymore, but I guess lots of people do. And a 25-year-old woman and a 40-year-old woman usually have no resemblance to one another.
Bless you.
God bless you. And so here's the same guy who may not have wanted to change, may not have changed in any meaningful way, acting the same way toward a 40-year-old woman as he acted toward a 25-year-old woman, thinking that they're the same woman. And they're not.
I agree with that. I so agree with that.
It's like, you think you got an apple in the refrigerator, and meanwhile, you can't see that the apple has become a cantaloupe. And not just like physically, but like a completely different species. Because you married somebody who was like living with mom and dad, just looking to get out of the house, like to fuck ya, could see that you might be a good dad. And that's criteria, A, B, and C. Don't want to live with my parents anymore. You're good in bed. You're a decent provider. You might be a good dad. Okay, so I'm going to build the rest of my life based on those 4 criteria. What kind of stupidity is that? But that's basically what most people get married for.
Yeah. And a lot of like Nicole was saying, I can think of a couple of people right now in my head. It's like, that just wanting to be married, and that just because society has said to us girls, you are supposed to go to school. You're supposed to, like, it ain't even get an education to be some powerful girl. Like, that ain't even it. You're supposed to go to school. You're supposed to, at 25 get married, at this age have kids, at this, like we are on this time society stamp of a time clock. You know what I'm saying? So
my generation, you were supposed to find a man that could let you stay home for a few years too.
That doesn't happen anymore.
No,
that's not happening in 2021.
Sean, remember this one?
Yeah.
Remember this. If a man doesn't beat you, he doesn't love you.
Baby.
Remember that conversation we had?
Yes.
Someone seriously told us this, and we looked at her like she lost her mind, and we had to sit down and have like the longest conversation. And my thing was, what's my favorite saying, Sean? Love doesn't hurt. It
doesn't.
Love should not hurt.
And you know what's funny? You know what's funny? I know a friend's husband, well, ex-friend, you know this person, but we're not going to call names, but her husband knew at the time when they were new, would say, no, love do hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, then you're not being loved by the right person.
That's right.
If you honestly feel like love hurt, then you are not being loved by the right person. Period. You're being loved by somebody who don't know how to love. And he really felt that in his heart. Like, no, he would debate with me. No, Sean, love hurt. And because he was getting married to my friend, I couldn't. I'm like, yeah, love don't hurt. I'm sorry.
But the thing is,
when I was young and my friends were going through it, before I went through it myself, because that's what kind of stupid I was. But anyway, like I would go after their person for hurting them. That's why it came to like such a big shock to everyone that I found myself in that situation. Because I'd gone after somebody else's man, like threw rocks and beer bottles at them, had bar fights. Like I was just, no, you don't get to do that. And then turn about that I found myself in that situation. And it wasn't so much that like love hurt. It was kind of like, I have to correct you when you don't act right.
But it also goes back to something Claudia said earlier. When you're, I think one of the bigger pink flags that a lot of people ignore is a person's tone towards you. And I don't mean like screaming at it. It's just the way they communicate with you. A person, that tone could say everything. If you disagree with someone and automatically they go from 1 to 10, and it's on something that's subtle, like you have to think, you have to sit back and go, hold up, is this something that's good for me? And I always also tell Sean, you have to really, I don't know how to put this, but you have to really, really look into the person you're trying to date and see what they're about. Because if you guys aren't yoked, it's not going to work. I can't.
That's the one thing I do know from the Bible, that people, and I agree, because when I was engaged to the pastor, we went to premarital therapy. Sean's going to like laugh, and she's got her face in front of her.
Because I know, like you and these pastor stories are like, oh my Jesus.
The stories. May he rest in hell.
Oh damn.
We went to premarital counseling, and it was faith-based. That contributed more to my becoming an atheist than anything I'd ever done in my entire life. But anyway, go back to that. It was like the guy that was doing it, the youth minister that was doing, because we were the oldest people in the group, he was like, you have to be of equal yoke. And he explained very, very accurately what equal yoke is. And at that point, like I was like, yeah, Jesus, blah, 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 God, blah, blah, blah. But the equal yoke thing was really kind of like one of the precursors to pink flags. And I don't want to denigrate anybody's faith, because it's a really important thing to a lot of people. And I get it, because at one point it was super important to me. But like the whole, you have to have the same mindset.
Right.
And that's where the pink flags come in.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not on the same page with sex,
Right.
with money,
Mm-hmm.
or with having babies, or with having had somebody else's baby and entering into a new relationship, or accepting somebody else's, like accepting bonus babies. If you're not there, and now there's little things like furniture, where you want to live, suburb, city. These are all the equal things. And then where the pink flags start, because you don't want to, like, I really enjoy having sex with this guy one night a week. Like, it's the best thing I could possibly do with my night. But now you live with this guy a year later, and he wants to give you that fabulous experience every fucking night. What are you gonna do? You're not that girl.
Right.
You're a one night a week girl.
Right.
And
That's my point.
You'll do it up. You'll pop champagne. You'll wear lingerie. You'll wear the slippers with the fuzzy thing on the front. You'll do the whole 9. But 5 nights a week, you want to put your head in the oven.
Word.
That's where the pink flag goes wrong. But you gave it all this latitude because that one night a week was making you feel like a goddess.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you gotta find the pink flags.
Right. That's that early conversation. This is where when you first start dating, you really have to, and people say, oh, it's too quick to jump into serious. No, it's not. You have that conversation. Like, especially I look at it like I'm 53. I'm not gonna meet somebody and wait 4 years to have a conversation. No, we can speak and I'm not gonna ask you every position you like on the very first date, but we could have
6 months. You want to know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I definitely want to know. And my thing is like,
I want to know before we have sex.
right. Well, hopefully,
Well,
I don't think the first night.
2.5 days, so I don't know nothing.
Right. But my thing with that is when you're sitting there, like I said, you can't be that person that's you're a party head and this person never wants to go out. You're a freak. You want to tie up and have the whips and chains and the batteries and all that. And he's like once every 3 months here. Right.
Position.
Right. And they don't want to do nothing but lay on their back. So you have to have that conversation. You have to, because down the road it's going to be a big problem. So get it out the way early. Figure out because nobody's perfect. And that's another thing that a lot of us seem not to understand. Like, you got to find the person that's perfect for you.
Yeah, somebody is perfect for you.
Right. Not for everyone else, not for your homegirls or your homeboys, the person that's good for you. And if you guys come to that mutual understanding that, all right, I know I hate your laugh, but I'm going to deal with your laugh for the next 40 years, that's all right. Because that works for you guys. If you, Sean, to tell you, I cannot stand, I don't think I could ever date a loud, rowdy person. I can't do it. I like you. I'm not saying you got to be like a nun or a super quiet, but it's a difference.
I think I have the girl for you.
Oh, you do? Okay.
We're gonna have on Pink Flags. Let's hook up wise, because I want my brother.
Well, we ain't gonna have let's hook up.
Yes,
wise.
we are. We're gonna have a dating.
We ain't having let's hook up.
Yeah,
wise.
I'm gonna keep.
We're having a Pink Flags Matchmaker Day. Are we having a Pink Flag Matchmaker Day?
No.
No, I'm good.
No, we're not having it. No one is going to know. It'll be between me, her, and Wise.
Oh. And Sean, because my brother's gonna tell me.
No, I'm going to swear him to secrecy.
brother.
But it's just
we are now at an hour and
Yeah, because you had to reset it, so we kind of
went long. So yeah, so we'll keep through the other 5 minutes so we have like a whole hour long non sequitur. If that's okay with everybody, we got 5 more minutes.
So Sadaya said there's always room for change in people. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of wanted to acknowledge that too, and that's why communication is so important, because in a relationship, you might, if we're talking about even sex in the relationship, you can start off the first couple of months like going, and then things change. Even 2 years down the road, maybe libido shifts, stress shifts, family, mental health. And I think doesn't mean it's never going to work out. It doesn't mean to run away or to break up. It's communication. And it goes back to what you need. Right now, I need to be left alone. You need sex and pleasure. And if I can't give that to you, how can we get you fulfilled? And those are communications. If it's openness, or if it's some other kind of shared intimacy, it just comes down to being loved and attention. So how can I give you that attention while also respecting what I need, which is space? Because I do want to acknowledge that some relationships libido shifts just randomly with stress, life, what's going on.
I agree.
Viagra makes it easy.
What you said?
What?
What you said, brother?
Viagra makes it easy.
We're not only talking about your libido, but thanks for the heads up.
I don't think women are covered by insurance, and
they have Viagra for women now.
Oh, do they?
Yes.
Is it covered by our insurance?
Thankfully, I don't need either, so I'm all right now, knock on wood. But I'm just saying it's out there. If you ladies need it, they sell it now.
I also want to.
So you heard it here first for the pink flags. There's Viagra for women.
What'd you say, Claudia?
I said you heard it here, ladies, first. There's Viagra for women. Pink flags. Emphasis. They're like, okay.
No, but when Nicole, I agree with you. I was gonna say I agree when you were saying like libido changes and stuff, like, especially if somebody have a baby, if you have a baby and you're tired and you're 50 pounds over where she was before you had the baby, before the baby was a sex goddess, and now you feel like you are Rasputia. Like all of that happens, and it will change, even just, like you said, life, stress, just different things happening. Like those are things that can kind of change your sex drive, period. But like you said, if you sit down and communicate about it and like, listen, I'm tired, or I'm stressed, or me and Barbara was talking about this, which is going to be a topic soon, about mental health and anxiety, because this month is Mental Health Awareness Month. Like all of that plays a part. Anxiety and stress, all of that plays a part in not being able to do anything with your partner.
Mm-hmm.
All right, could I jump in on that one?
Of course you can.
Like, I want to say this, and if my ex-wife is watching, I would say I apologize to her for that same exact reason. When I was younger, I didn't get that. I didn't get it. Like when we first got together, your brother was on it every day. We had babies and things started changing, and yeah, I had 5 babies. Yeah.
They have 5.
but I didn't get that. And the way I started.
Oh, I like that Seda said that mental sex is powerful.
Yes. And I started looking at her a little different and feeling angry about certain things. So I will apologize now, because I'm man enough to say that I should have went about things a lot different.
But because you're my brother, I feel like I can say this. That was your anger probably stemmed from not, feelings of being rejected. And when you have feelings of being rejected, she probably wasn't even rejecting you.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? But because you, and we're talking about traumas and certain things that happen, and you know, sometimes it's not even in an intimate partner. You can go through feelings of rejected and traumas and stuff like that from your parents.
Right, right.
Abandonment and all that from your parents. It don't even have to be a partner. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes who you are as a child plays out sometimes in your relationship.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And it's like,
all the time.
yeah, like, and you know, that is so big of you, and I almost got a lump in my throat because you know, I just love you so much. You know, like that's big of you because some men don't see that. You know, and you were big enough to even say, "Look, you know, I apologize because I didn't know any better."
Right. But
and I didn't know, and you probably didn't even know yourself at the time.
Oh no, I definitely didn't.
But back, if I may interject, back to what I was saying, where people are evolving into different human beings every single day. And that's why it's imperative to always have that line of communication open. Date night, I can't stress it enough that it's just imperative. It should just be an automatic mandated relationship.
Date nights on social media. It's cute.
Date night is definitely important to keep falling, you know, all of that, you know, because life gets in the way.
Yeah.
You know,
I tell people that all the time, like whether you're married or not, like you have to take that time with your spouse, just that one-on-one.
No kids
to the side.
No kids, no nothing. Because guess what? Them kids is going to be there.
No friends, no just
nothing. Just y'all two.
And connect.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
So Barbara, we are on the
we are on overtime, and we can do this all night. Dr. Nicole, would you like to come back when we talk about mental health?
I would love to. And before we hop off, I'd love to share one exercise that people could like
absolutely
do.
Yeah.
That's
like,
amazing.
I think for anyone with abuse or just like anyone in life and relationships, it goes back to
give me 1 minute.
And knowing your needs. So I think it's helpful to write a list of what your needs are. And I love this statement. Like, I feel whatever the emotion is, angry, sad, because I need what? It goes, you know, I feel blank because I
love it.
And then
I'm about to use that. Dr. Nicole, I'm about to use that.
I feel upset because I need attention. And the key to this is obviously to express it to your partners, but how can you give it to yourself? That's where the self-love and self-work. Today I was really mad. I had a really rough day at the bank. And I was like, I'm feeling so angry right now because I need someone to tell me it's going to be okay. And so I did it to myself. And I was like, Nicole, you're going to be okay. You're not an idiot. This is, we're going to survive. And I really felt like it worked for me. So like, 'cause I noticed my emotion, a feeling word, and then I attached it with a need, and then I gave it to myself. So I think that's a great exercise for people.
That is a wonderful exercise.
Yeah,
I
wonderful.
Post it on the Pink Flags page and see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can send you guys my little thing too. I'll send it to you all.
Yeah.
Please.
Because I think that's something we have a lot of people that, you know, comment on our commentary. So that is a great thing to put up because I think that's so important because, you know, people don't know how to express how they're feeling at the time. So they lash out.
Yeah, I'm mad at you. Like, no, I'm mad because I need attention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to share that with the Pink Flag world.
That was amazing. Barbara, take us out. Take us out, Barbara.
Thank you, Dr. Nicole Sisti.
It was amazing.
Thank you, worker in private practice in Brooklyn, New York.
Thank you.
She will help. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye. Thank you.